In this video, I am going to show you how to clean out IBC tanks without a pressure washer. And to be honest, pressure washers don't get the tanks fully clean anyways, so these techniques can be used if you do have a pressure washer and there's still some crud left behind. In the end, I actually get the tanks clean to about 95%. So not all the way to brand new, but considering how filthy and disgusting they are, which I'll show you a clip of what they look like on the inside, it's really quite amazing at how clean I got them. So in this video, you are going to be learning many different techniques that are affordable, but it does take a lot of elbow grease. I will warn you right now. But for me, it's worth it because I really don't need a pressure washer for anything else but this project, and I don't feel like dropping that kind of cash right now. Step 1, dry them out. The first step is to let the tanks fully dry out. This will allow for the algae to peel away from the tank. As you can see, this was a major amount of algae, so I've got to figure out a way to remove this lifted algae out of the tank without being able to get into it. Now on to the second tank. As you can see, the algae did lift, but not as good as the other tank, so hopefully this won't be too hard to get out. Now I do have a third tank here that I have already cleaned, and as you can see, I got the tank about 95% clean, which isn't fully perfect, but it is good enough that it will not clog my drip irrigation system, which is what I use these IBC tanks for. I use them for watering my garden. Step 2, soak with vinegar. I decided that the best course of action is to soak the IBC tanks in a solution of vinegar and water in order to get the large sheets of algae out. This is a 30% vinegar, which is 6 times stronger than your average household vinegar. So I am using a half a jug each in each IBC tank. I then fill the tanks with water to just cover the algae sheets. Now I am using my garden sprayer to try and get off as much schmuck as I can off of the sides. Then I open up the IBC tank valve and I try to guide the schmegma out of the valve with a mop. And it's not very easy to do because the mop is kind of going slow motion in the water, but I get some of it out. Then comes the fun part. I'm able to pull the big sheets of disgusting algae out with my mop because I quickly realized that I am not going to get it through the IBC tank valve. I then scrub the side of the tanks with the mop, and as you can see, the IBC tank is starting to get pretty clean at this point. I just want to show you how leathery and thick this algae sheet is. I thought it was going to be mushy and slimy, but it was the exact opposite. It's pretty strong and it feels like wet leather. Step 3, scrub with push broom. So as I was toiling getting these IBC tanks clean, I had a genius idea, and that was to take the head off of the push broom, put it into the IBC tank, and then screw the handle back on, and I was able to scrub these IBC tanks out really well using this method. It makes the most sense because you can't get in the IBC tank and the mop gets really heavy and swishy and only can go so far. So this is my top golden tip of how to clean an IBC tank without a pressure washer. Now, before you stop watching this video, because I just gave you my top tip, I learned quite a few things about how to optimize scrubbing the IBC tank with this push broom, so keep watching for even more valuable tips. Step 4, lay the tank on its side. So I quickly discovered that the second tank was far worse than the first tank. The algae just did not lift like the first tank did, and it was really, really stuck. So no matter how hard I tried, I could not really get the algae loose from this tank. So the first thing I did was I filled the IBC tank with water and vinegar, and I let it soak overnight. And then the second thing I did is I created a ditch. So when I did release the water from the IBC tank, it flowed away from my workspace as opposed to getting my workspace all muddy. Then I had the genius idea to tip the tank and use gravity on my side while I scrubbed it out. This helped me really put in some elbow grease and get the muck off of the sides. It did come with its complications, however. My first issue is that I broke my broom handle because the tiny opening into the IBC tank hits the sides of the handle, and with the vigorous scrubbing, I ended up breaking it. So I had to get a replacement handle. The second issue I had is that when I was scrubbing it on its side, I filled the IBC tank up with too much water, and I simply did not have the strength to remove the water, so it was basically stuck on its side. And the way I remedied this is I simply hooked my truck up with my strap and I tilted the IBC tank to drain out all of the water. So when you are cleaning, just be aware that it gets heavy quick and you cannot drain it when it's on its side because the valve is too high. So just something you learn through experience. Step 5, tilt the tank. My final step in this IBC tank cleanup is to tilt the tank. And the reason you want to do this is because the valve where the water comes out is not exactly at the very bottom of the tank. So you'll find as you are scrubbing that you cannot get all of the water out and there's still bits of algae and grossness sitting on the bottom. So you simply tilt the tank with basically a log and that will get all the water out. And then what I did is I did my final scrub of the bottom and I was able to really just get everything out of my tank, and I got these tanks really clean. I'm actually pretty impressed that I was able to get them this clean considering how dirty they were. One last hot tip I want to share with you is I used a grill scraper to get the gunk out of the very top of the tank. The issue is that the broom cannot make it to the very top, so there was gunk left up in there, and I used the flat side of the barbecue scraper. It worked pretty good actually, just to get the remaining stuff off the top of the tank. Now that I got my tanks all nice and clean, I'm just lining them up uniformly, and the moment you've been waiting for, the results of all my work. So this is the first tank. Actually, no, this is the second tank. As you can see, it is drastically cleaner. What's left over here is basically stained. It's just not going to come out. Maybe with a pressure washer it'd come out, but I highly doubt it. And then all that brown stuff you see in the corners, the dark stuff, that's just simply dirt that's underneath the tank. It's not in the tank. So I would consider this 95% cleaner. And this is the first tank. As you can see, wow, what a humongous difference. I want to thank you for watching my show. Please like, share, and subscribe if you found this useful, and stay tuned for more awesome off-grid and homesteading content.